Welcome, everyone. Before we start the meeting, we'll have a prayer led by Councilman John Hensley, and Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Thank you. We pray for the children in our parks and pools and the crops in the fields, that they may safely grow, sway, and play in the summer sun. We pray for first responders and farmers as they care for us and our futures, and regardless of the weather, do what needs to be done. We pray for those with ailing health and limited means, that they may find relief from the heat and comfort for their troubles. And we pray that we may learn to be generous, and that we may be taught to serve as our neighbors deserve, to give and not to count the cost, to fight and not to heed the wounds, to toil and not to seek for rest, to labor and not to ask for a reward, except to know that we are doing their will. Raising up these prayers, we say, Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll now call to order the Monday, June 18th, 2018 City Council meeting. Mrs. Donaldson, roll call, please.
Fitzwater. Graham.
Here.
Hensley.
Here.
Hussey.
Here.
Kimna.
Here.
Mahalovich.
Here.
Prather.
Here.
Schreiber.
Present.
Ward.
Here.
Wiseman.
Present.
Item 3, adoption of agenda.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to amend the agenda to add item 4B, Quentin Rice.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Great. Item 4, miscellaneous agenda items. We have the recognition of the June Outstanding Employee Service Award recipient, Craig Vaughn, by Mr. Steve Kroll.
And I will ask Mr. Vaughn to come forward, and as he's doing that, just encourage us all to think about all the employees on the front line that are working so hard, certainly in this heat and the cold and as everything else as well. So, we're here to recognize Craig Vaughn, City of Jefferson Purchasing Technician. Oh, need to have Margie come up. And you're going to have Terry step up too. Is Terry here? Sure, come on up. So, recognize Craig Vaughn, City of Jefferson Purchasing Technician, Finance and Information Technology Department, for receiving the City of Jefferson Outstanding Employee Service Award for June 2018. So I'm going to read through some of the nomination information that was submitted for Mr. Vaughn. Mr. Vaughn exemplifies outstanding dedication to his job. Example of Mr. Vaughn's ongoing commitment to training and learning include Mr. Vaughn's eagerness to take public procurement classes and seminars to enhance his understanding of the reasons certain public procurement processes are required. And Mr. Vaughn makes himself available to take on new tasks and is eager to learn new processes. Mr. Vaughn offers or implements suggestions for improving operational aspects of various division functions, including researching and providing suggestions for improvements to vendor software applications, and automating the vendor application records by developing a spreadsheet of vendors that links with links to their original applications. Mr. Vaughn always goes out of his way to provide outstanding customer service, often working with numerous other city departments to ensure that equipment, services, and supplies are appropriately purchased in order to further the goals of those specific departments seeking his assistance. Mr. Vaughn fosters excellent working relationships with co-workers using a friendly, outgoing personality to bring others together. He's always willing to provide any assistance needed to finish tasks on time, including researching for missing information and adding additional suppliers to complete service requests. Mr. Vaughn supports and or participates in various city-related functions and events. Mr. Vaughn is always going above and beyond to help other employees and departments. Mr. Vaughn makes himself available to take on new tasks and is eager to learn new processes. For example, Mr. Vaughn researched the requirements to obtain a title for the first confiscated vehicle and which was sold at a city auction. Mr. Vaughn offers suggestions to improve the overall operations of city departments and the city. One such example includes reviewing photocopier maintenance agreements, verifying the actual number of photocopies being used, by which he was able to reduce the cost to the various departments. Mr. Vaughn's follow-through on projects, tasks, and commitments is excellent, and Mr. Vaughn's significant contributions to the overall quality of life of the city are recognized and appreciated. So please help me recognize and congratulate Craig Vaughn, City of Jefferson, Planning and Technician, Finance and Information Technology Department, for receiving the City of Jefferson Outstanding Service Award for June 2018. And you have somebody here you'd like to introduce?
Yes, my wife Alexis is here.
Hi, thank you.
Congratulations, Mr. Vaughn. We're very proud of you. That was a very extensive list of duties, and you performed them so well. Very exceptional service to all of us, and we appreciate it so much. And on behalf of the City Council and the City of Jefferson, we appreciate all that you do and going above and beyond to help our citizens. So we'd like to get a picture and also present to you a city coin. So if y'all would like to come forward, and we'll have the council members behind me, and we'll get a picture together.
Let's see if we can.
Everybody played.
All right. Okay.
Wonderful. Congratulations again. Item B, we have with us Mr. Quentin Rice from Murphy's Ford Band. We're going to ask Quentin to come forward to the podium, and Quentin is here this evening to talk about, this is our last meeting before the Salute to America Inside the Walls at the Missouri State Penitentiary concert, and Quentin is part of Murphy's Ford Band, and Quentin's band will be performing Inside the Walls for the first time. So we've invited you here and are looking forward to hearing your thoughts about getting to perform. What do you think about getting to perform inside the prison?
Well, obviously, it's very exciting on a number of different levels. I'm a big supporter of Jefferson City, and I enjoy getting to participate in a lot of different events. And I know I've spoken to many of you guys about some of these. There's a few I probably haven't got to speak to about on a number of different levels of the things that I enjoy doing and what I like to get to support and help grow in this town. But getting to play inside the prison is it's a fantastic opportunity to get to represent Jefferson City on both the local and national level because we get to open up for a national headliner. And that's awesome for a number of different reasons, too. It's not too often in Jefferson City that we get to bring a big name like that here to the city, but then also to a historic place in a very unique venue like the old penitentiary. And so I think that that's huge for hospitality and entertainment. It's huge for a small guy like myself trying to make it in the music biz. It's a good exposure there, but it's also great to get to represent Jefferson City and to get to play in your hometown, especially at a venue like that. I've been trying to sell this as much as I can to people, to where even if you don't like the music, the venue is going to be phenomenal to get to participate in and get to see a concert in. I hope that things continue to grow and progress there. I'm very involved in downtown Jefferson City and the east side, so there's a number of different reasons why I'd like to see that area progress, but I think a darn good start to that is having concerts there and getting to participate with Murphy's Ford and getting to play there is a phenomenal opportunity. Very grateful for that. The band is very grateful for that. Unfortunately, they couldn't make it here tonight. We're all still working men, and so jobs and families and things like that tend to get in the way sometimes of some of the things we'd like to be at, but it's for good reasons, though. With the east side and downtown Jefferson City and the prison, I hope that things continue to progress there. I know that there's a lot of discussion going on with that, and I know there's a lot of potential there. A very wise man said once in this room that we have one shot to do it right, and I hope that this is moving in the right direction. This is one very small but large step in the right direction of taking advantage of a property that we didn't know what to do with, but then also a part of town that needs a little bit of life too. And while I do have some small businesses over there that I could be able to take advantage of that, there's other people that could take advantage of that too. I don't work alone, and all of you guys have put a lot of work into this city. There's many other people in this room that have put a lot of work into this city too, and that's one of those things I think that could help us progress in a positive light. I don't want this to be to Columbia. I don't want it to be Kansas City. I don't want it to be St. Louis. I want this to stay Jefferson City, and so I don't necessarily want things to blow up around here, become uncomfortable for anybody, because we do have a nice, quiet, quaint town, but there are some more opportunities to where you bring hospitality and entertainment, and that's a very important step with that. I'm a firm believer that hospitality and entertainment help make a lot of things happen. Art is a big thing. I'm a firm believer in that. That brings people together, brings community together, and it also fosters a lot of ideas and growth. And so something big yet small, like a concert inside the prison, kind of helps growth on so many different levels. It's an opportunity for a young musician like myself trying to make it in the business, but also, opportunity for production people that I've worked with. I built stages, lights, and sound, and got to do that for many different things. And there's more opportunity for local businesses that way. Look at the food and beverage industry. There's so many different things that a concert like that helps to promote and to make growth in the area. And it's an honor to be a part of. And I hope you guys make it out for that. Murphy's Ford is a hardworking band. We're doing a lot locally, thanks to the help of many people, and we're actually doing some national things too, working with some folks in Nashville. So we're trying to work hard, and this is an awesome step along the way. So I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity and very thankful for that. And I hope that this is just one small step in the big process of getting things going over in that area. So I think that's kind of my 2 cents there. So thank you very much for having me.
Well, thank you, Quentin. And for those who we're all familiar with you and your band. Of course, we've seen you around town at various places and your businesses, and you've really been quite an anchor to the whole area in the downtown and east side, and taking some of the buildings that were either vacant or underutilized and renovating along with your team and your partners and making it into something really cool, some very cool venues and spaces and restaurants and you name it. And with the band Murphy's Ford, so I know you've been sort of humble, but you all were selected in Jefferson City. You won a competition and actually went to Nashville after winning the local or area region-wide competition.
We finished second, I think, out of 715 bands. We went through a number of different steps, and we kept going on to the next step, and then all of a sudden we ended up kind of getting, for lack of better words, some quote-unquote rock star treatment. We got flown down to Nashville. We were hauled in limos back and forth from the hotel to the airport to the venues, and we made it all the way to the top 10. We got to represent Jefferson City, and it was quite an honor to get to do that. We played in front of Kix Brooks, which is from Brooks and Dunn, Daniel Bradbury, Rascal Flatts. I mean, it was the real deal, and it was nice to get to do that to as an artist, but then also to make a little waves out of Jeff City. So there's a lot of good talent here, and it was nice to get exposure for that.
Well, we're very proud of you. We're looking forward to seeing you perform and Murphy's Ford inside the walls, which is going to be Saturday night, June 30th, and that's coming up here less than 2 weeks out. All the information is at salutetoamerica.org if people want to buy tickets and come and see Murphy's Ford perform. And we'll show off here for just a second, because we'll say, we woke up by the river in Jeff City, Mo. So council's prepared. And by the way, they do have a Murphy's Ford CD in front of them. So Carlos he's already learned all the songs, I can tell just now. One of my favorites is Gasoline, and it's excellent. You set my world on fire like gasoline, and it's so perfect. We have all the fire department here tonight, so that song is it is so perfect. But it's wonderful. We're very happy for you and wish you continued success, and cannot wait to see you perform inside the walls with Big and Rich. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine? Did you think you'd be opening for an act like Big and Rich?
I didn't think we'd get that opportunity. So I mean, we're all very, very excited about that. So thank you.
Well, very cool. Well, before you leave, let's get a picture. Okay. So we'll get council up here and get you up here, and let's start we'll post and share.
All right. Thank you.
So Ryan, are you Gail for our official photographer?
Hold my CD.
What are you doing now?
I have a thing on Wednesday.
Blade.
Blade.
Reblade.
Blade.
And get the big and rich shirt that I got on tonight.
He's holding up the CD, man.
Blade.
We're getting our props ready.
There you go.
One more thing, too. We are having a fundraiser for American Cancer Society, Power of Purple, that Councilwoman Wiseman and I are part of the team, and we are going to auction off a ticket for Inside the Walls, so you can go see Murphy's Ford and see Big and Rich. So that would be this Wednesday evening.
Wednesday evening, 5 to 7 at Gumbo Bottoms.
All right, thank you. A lot of exciting things coming up in the city of Jefferson, so we're really looking forward to that. All right, item 5, we have some public hearings this evening, and we will start with item A. Mrs. Donaldson?
A resolution of the City of Jefferson, Missouri approving a special exception permit to operate a short-term rental for property addressed as 1001 West High Street.
Mr. Sanders?
Madam Mayor, Mr. Eric Barron, our Planning Services Division head, will be addressing all of the special exception hearings.
Thank you. Mr. Barron?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, there are 4 separate resolutions before you this evening dealing with short-term rentals. And so the short-term rental regulations for Jefferson City are fairly new. They were adopted by the City Council in January, regulations that were inserted into Chapter 35 of the City Code, the zoning code. These regulations require that short-term rentals that are located within residential zoning districts obtain a special exception permit through the Planning and Zoning Commission and ultimately from the City Council. So going through a public hearing process in front of both of those bodies to obtain that special exception permit. And that allows for an additional level of review. You know, such uses have can be kind of a sensitive item being located in residential zoning districts. Also, the regulations that were inserted into the zoning code have specific standards for short-term rentals, standards dealing with the number of guests that such a rental can include there in the home usually. Parking requirements for such a use. Also requirements that for that use business license must be obtained and also that the use must pay the lodging tax. With that, I'll proceed on with the first of the 4 proposals before you this evening, located at 1001 West High Street. So this resolution would approve use of this property for short-term rental purposes. The property is located on the corner of High Street and Brooks Street. It's highlighted there in the center of the screen. The property is zoned in RA2, which is a multifamily residential zoning district. Consists of an existing 3-unit residential building structure. The request is to use all 3 units as individual short-term rentals, so a total of 3 on the property. And the Planning and Zoning Commission did review this proposal and voted 7-0 in favor of its recommendation for approval to the City Council. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have prior to opening the public hearing.
Any questions for Mr. Barron? Okay, seeing none. At this time, we'll open up the public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak on item A, 1001 West High Street? Welcome. You're welcome to come to the podium. And if you could just give us your name, please.
Well, my name's Mike Youngbluth, and I'm actually the owner of this building at 1001 West High. And I'm asking this to be approved because this would give me more options on what I can do with my property. But more importantly, this gives visitors to Jefferson City more options when they come here to stay. For example, some people come and stay for a month at a time, and they like to have a place that feels more like home to them. And I think Jefferson City should approve this type of thing to be, more up with the modern times and with what all the other places in the country and the world actually are doing. So.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on item A? All right, seeing none, we will close the public hearing portion, and I'll ask for a motion for Resolution RS 2018-1.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any further discussion on the resolution? Roll call, please.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Hensley.
Aye.
Hussey.
Aye.
Kimna.
Aye.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Item B,
A resolution of the City of Jefferson, Missouri approving a special exception permit to operate a short-term rental of a lodging room for property addressed as 1632 Tanner Bridge Road.
Mr. Barron.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This property is located, shown up on the screen, highlighted in the center of the screen, is located on the corner of Tanner Bridge Road and Flora Drive. It is an existing single-family home and located within an RS2, a single-family residential zoning district. The request is actually for to use the property as a single-family home, but also with a lodging unit, a lodging room, a short-term rental lodging room within the existing structure. So it'd be a family living there and basically renting out one room to the traveling public. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this proposal and voted 8-0 in favor of recommending approval of it to the City Council. I'd be happy to answer any questions before the public hearing.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, we'll open the public hearing for item B. If there's anyone here to speak on 1632 Tanner Bridge Road. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Missy Creed. I just wanted to introduce myself and thank you for your time and consideration for this exemption to the permit. And really, I just enjoy hosting. I like to travel myself using Airbnb. I think it's a unique experience for visitors to experience Jefferson City. And I just, if you have any questions directly for me, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on item B? All right, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing portion and ask for a resolution for 2018-2.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Any further discussion? All roll call, please.
Graham.
Aye.
Hensley.
Aye.
Hussey.
Aye.
Kimna.
Aye.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Item C,
A resolution of the City of Jefferson, Missouri approving a special exception permit to operate a short-term rental for property addressed as 412 Cherry Street.
Mr. Barron.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Up on the screen is a location map of the property. It's located on Cherry Street, just a half a block south of West McCarty Street. Located right on the corner of the mid-block alley and in Cherry Street. It is an existing single-family home on property that is zoned RA2 multifamily residential. The request is to make the home available for short-term residential use. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this application and voted 8-0 to recommend approval to the City Council. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, we'll open up the public hearing. Is anyone here to speak on 412 Cherry Street? Okay. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing portion and ask for a motion for Resolution 2018-3.
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Hensley.
Aye.
Hussey.
Aye.
Kimna.
Aye.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Item D.
A resolution of the City of Jefferson, Missouri approving a special exception permit to operate a short-term rental for property addressed as 134 West Circle Drive.
Mr. Barron.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This property is located on West Circle Drive, just south of Chicago Road, so it's about 1,000 feet north of West Main Street. It is an existing single-family residential home on property zoned RS3, single-family residential. The request is to make the home available for short-term residential use. The Planning and Zoning Commission did review this proposal and voted 8 to 0 to recommend approval of this request to the City Council. I'd be happy to answer any questions the Council may have prior to opening the public hearing.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilman Mahalovich?
Had we had any correspondence on this?
Yes, there is one item of correspondence. I believe it was distributed to you through the Office of the City Clerk. And there's also an item of correspondence that was submitted to the Planning and Zoning Commission, which is contained within the council packet.
Councilman Mahalovich?
I did go by that house, and somebody had placed a sign that of the public notice behind a bush. Had that got placed in the front yard?
Yes, we did have a staff member go out and locate that sign. I believe it was leaning up against the side of the house and relocated into the yard. We actually had issue with 2 different signs this month. Sometimes signs get moved during the mowing of a yard. I don't know if that was the case here, but it does happen from time to time and then not replaced at the end of the mowing. But it was relocated into the center of the yard.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, at this time we'll open the public hearing for 134 West Circle Drive. Is there anyone here to speak on that? Welcome.
Hi. I am Julie Fitzmaurice. My husband Brad and I are the property owners of 134 West Circle Drive. And we purchased this home in January as a second home. We live in Kansas City. Lived here. My husband was raised here. We lived here for 20 years, raised our kids here, and our daughter and granddaughter are back here. So we wanted our own place to lay our head at night, and decided in the process that we would like to have the option to rent our home through Airbnb, Home Away, to give people who visit Jeff City an option outside of traditional hotel housing. Our sign got moved Wednesday, when the kid mowed our yard and he forgot to move it back. And it had fallen over one other time. I think some of the correspondence you received regarded parking. We had an open house. We had quite a few folks attend, and someone blocked the neighbor across the street driveway, and she wasn't very happy. But we have parking for 4 cars off street, so I don't think that's an issue. And the other correspondence that went to planning and zoning was that we would rent to minors and they would have big parties, and that's just not going to happen. So seemed like the folks at the planning and zoning meeting that I came to didn't quite grasp the concept of the Airbnb rental of personal properties. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. If not, thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Any questions? All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on 134 West Circle? Welcome.
Hello, welcome. My name is Nick Akey. I live at 141 West Circle. It's at the corner of the 2 lots there. The correspondence that I wrote to Mr. Mihalovitz and Ms. Ward had to do with the parking issue with this Airbnb. The hill, as you come off Chicago, turn left onto West Circle and go up, is a steep grade. If people park on both sides of the road, you cannot see as you're going through those 2 cars. There's nowhere, if a car is coming the other direction, you would not be able to get out of the way. There is inadequate parking. They have a short area in front of their house where they can park. Otherwise, they're parking in front of Lisa's house, or they're parking in front of Mary's house in front of it. The driveway has the space for maybe 1 or 2 vehicles. That would be about it. So our concern mainly is with safety. Also, Chicago Road is a dead end, so you cannot sweep around and go back to the circles on that lane. You would have to turn around and come back up then. So with the ability to be able to rent to 5 people, which I think is what the charter says that you can do with these. We would be concerned that there would be a number of people coming in, there wouldn't be adequate parking. We would have a difficult time, as well as all the other homes on Chicago Road would, in order to be able to get back out. So those are my concerns.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on 134 West Circle? Okay, so seeing none, we will close the, any other public comment? So we'll close the public hearing portion and ask for a motion for the resolution RS 2018-4.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion on this? Councilman Mahalovich?
My only question is, the number of people who can park, is that based on the number of, our unrelated guests, is that based on the number of bedrooms the home has?
No, it is not. And so when the regulations, the specific use standards for short-term rentals were being researched and then presented in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council, it was presented that staff tried to craft the regulations so that it'd have as little impact as possible within the residential areas. And so the limit on the number of guests within a home is set at 5 people, and that is the same number as the limit of occupancy for a single-family residential home within the zoning code, 5 unrelated people. So if you can imagine the example I often give is 5 college students living together in a home is a legal use of any single-family residential home in Jefferson City. And so that's why the maximum occupancy of 5 unrelated people within a home for a short-term rental is located in there. And then the parking requirement for a short-term rental is the same as for a single-family home. It is expected that they would be very similar in terms of their parking need. And in fact, in reality, I believe that the short-term rentals are likely to have fewer cars than say a family with several vehicle-aged children that could have as many as 4 cars, whereas a short-term rental is typically rented by a single family with a single vehicle. For these reasons, we believed that the vehicle impact on a single-family home is basically zero. When transforming from a single family to a short-term rental.
Thank you. Any further questions or council deliberation? Councilwoman Ward?
Eric, has staff gone out and looked at the actual driveway? I'm looking at it on Google Earth and aerial view, and it appears that there are a couple parking spots in the back at the end of the lot. So that would allow 2, but I don't know if the one spot is for next door or if they're both for this home. But the driveway does look pretty long. That would allow, several vehicles to park there.
Yes, that was looked at by Planning Division staff. They looked at that issue for all of the rentals. This one does have a driveway, and it would meet the parking requirements as a standalone property. As far as any questions regarding the on-street parking, I tend to defer to the Public Works Department Street Division.
And can any landlord, owner of a Airbnb property, within their rules of their property, request that their renters not park on the street?
I do believe that they have the ability to put special information rules, so to speak, in the rental of their building. I'm not. I've never participated in that myself, so I'm certainly not an expert. But I believe that ability to give special instructions to the renter is there. So.
Thank you.
Further council questions or deliberation? Okay. Seeing none, roll call, please.
Hussey?
Aye.
Kimna?
Aye.
Mahalovich?
Nay.
Prather?
Aye.
Schreiber?
Aye.
Ward?
Aye.
Wiseman?
Aye.
Fitzwater?
Aye.
Graham?
Aye.
Hensley?
Aye.
Resolution passes. Item E.
A resolution of the City of Jefferson, Missouri approving a special exception permit to operate an outdoor mulch production, sales, and composting facility for property addressed as 1129 Cedar City Drive.
Mr. Barron?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This resolution would approve use of the property located at 1129 Cedar City Drive for outdoor mulch production, storage, etc. The property is located in Old Cedar City, so across the river. It's highlighted up there on the screen. Located, it's basically just north of a lot of the parks department ball fields and recreation area located in Old Cedar City. The property is zoned in M1, which is a light industrial zoning district. It consists of 6.8 acres. It was formerly used as an auto repair business, and so there's a single building on the property located on a mound to raise the level of the building up out of the floodplain. And so the request is to convert the property to an outdoor mulch production, sales, and composting facility. That is a special exception use in the M1 district. And so it requires a special exception permit and a public hearing process in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission, City Council. The property would be occupied by Cordy Tree Service, and so it'd actually be a base of operations for a tree service business. But the reason is coming before you as a mulch production, sales, and composting is that is the other activity that they would be conducting at the property. And so they do have some plans to make some improvements to the property. First, to construct a new pole barn style building, basically for vehicle storage to get vehicles out of the elements and under roof. They did go through the Board of Adjustment and obtained a variance from floodplain regulations in order to locate a structure within the floodplain, a type of structure that is able to let the floodwaters rise within it and not have any kind of damage. And they also have an outdoor gravel storage yard, basically consisting of the entire property. Paving of the existing parking lot in front of the existing building that is on the property. We do have an example so you can see what would be constructed in terms of the pole barn style vehicle storage building. It's basically, well, been told it is the same building as exists for the sod farm that is located along the highway, Highway 63, located there in the Missouri River bottoms. So if you're familiar with that building, it'd be the same building that would be constructed at this property. Also, they would enclose the property with a special type of fencing, usually used in agricultural type environments, but is also very good at securing the site in terms of making sure that their property investments are secure within the property. And so a view of the fencing materials located up there in the upper left or bottom left-hand corner of the screen. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this proposal and voted 8-0 to recommend its approval to the City Council. I'd be happy to answer any questions the Council may have prior to opening the public hearing.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, at this time we'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak on 1129 Cedar City Drive? Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Josh Cordy. I'm here to answer your questions. And my employees and my family and I would really appreciate being able to expand in this way. It's a capital-intensive business, and there's a lot of raw material, and we're just at a point where we can't grow without a location like that. But I think it would help Jeff City. It would help all of us, and I think I could bring some revenue into the city because we work in a broader area. So we would be bringing income in from Callaway County, but also Boone County and Columbia. So I'm here to answer any of your questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone else here to speak on 1129 Cedar City? All right. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing portion and ask for a resolution. Ask for a motion for Resolution 2018-5.
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion on the resolution? Roll call, please.
Kimna,
Aye.
Mahalovich,
Aye.
Prather,
Aye.
Schreiber,
Aye.
Ward,
Aye.
Wiseman,
Aye.
Fitzwater,
Aye.
Graham,
Aye.
Hensley,
Aye.
Hussey.
Aye.
Resolution passes. All right. And I forgot to ask earlier if there are any scouts in the audience. Do we have any scouts? I always like to recognize them. Okay. All right. Item 6, we have appointments by the mayor. So you'll see on the agenda we have Traffic and Transportation, Mr. Jason Collins and Bill Farr. Board of Electrical Exam Review, Joel Vanderslice. Environmental Quality Commission, Hannah Kiddu, and Planning and Zoning, Penny Quigg. Is there a motion to approve that slate of commissioners?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you to all the volunteers for our boards and commissions. Item 7, we have a very important presentation this evening under presentations from staff, consultants, and invited guests. Chief Matt Schofield is going to recognize our fire department chaplain, our volunteer chaplain, Pastor Mark Towns, for his service to the city.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council, for allowing us to take a short moment to recognize somebody very important to our organization. I would ask that Chaplain Towns join me here at the front. I would also ask that the other firefighters join us as well up here at the podium. For those of you watching, you may be unaware that we do have 2 volunteer fire department chaplains that serve our community, Chaplain Mark Towns and then Chaplain and Pastor Sam Powell. These individuals provide a significant service not only to our firefighters but also to the community in times of need, and they're just a tremendous asset to all of us. So Mark Towns has served as our department chaplain from 2014 to 2018, and he'll be leaving us shortly for a new ministry position in Brownwood, Texas. So we thought we'd take a moment to thank him for his service over the last 4 years. Let me just give you a brief rundown of some of the things he's been involved with. He has personally delivered assistance to many citizens at multiple fire scenes and connected them with various denominational support services and networks of follow-up support throughout their journey. He's assisted us with creating funeral policies and line-of-duty death procedures. He has made countless follow-ups to the stations and to visit with firefighters after difficult calls for service. He's also taken an increased role in providing mental health support and wellness for our firefighters in that program. And as part of that process, he's delivered over 340 hours of in-service training and provided follow-up books to every member of our department. Recently, he's attended the Winter Fire School in 2018, and as recent as last Wednesday, he actually offered up the prayer at our groundbreaking ceremony. And for those of you that were there, while it was hot, it was a great affair that was very well attended, and we appreciate his blessing that day. So, Mark, you'll be greatly missed, and we appreciate all that you've done. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors. So on behalf of the fire department, I would like to present to you this plaque. Present this to you. Also, would you like to introduce anybody that's here with you, your family?
My wife Amanda, my mom Lila, and my 2 youngest children Nathan and Joy. Very glad they're here.
Well, we thank you very much for the 4 years of service you've given us and wish you all the best going forward.
Thank you so much, Chief. Thank you.
And I did promise him a picture, if that's
Absolutely.
okay. I know that's a little out of line. I apologize for asking, but if we could, I would like to get a picture
We
with
would
the
love
council and
that,
the mayor.
and Pastor Towns, congratulations on what you have coming up, but we appreciate all of your help with everything through the hard times and the difficult times and also the celebrations, and how important that is. Our fire department is such a wonderful, hardworking department, and we appreciate your help and service to all of us throughout the journey, and we wish you many blessings too in your future. So thank you for all you've done for us, and it's wonderful to have your family here and then also your fire department family as well. I know there were a few others here that looks like they got called out on an emergency, so my apologies for not catching that and putting you all sooner on the agenda so we could have everybody here, but we know that that is something, though it's kind of a symbol of that the fire department is constantly working no matter what is going on, and I know that that's same with your job as well, Chaplain, so appreciate you so much. So please come forward, and we'd love to get a picture, and we can get your family up here as well.
Come on up, Amanda.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's just us.
She tried to stay back.
I don't know whether Carlos and Laura are bleeding. Are you guys bleeding?
Carlos cannot blade.
Are we what? Are you bleeding?
He's in a lady.
Never mind. Blade. No, Carlos is not bleeding.
Blade.
Just turn it.
He needs it.
You know what? Our side is bleeding.
Yes, we're good at waiting. Get my good side. Hold on, I'm gonna do this thing. All right, in the business now. Hold on.
Stand up, Carlos.
Holding meals is in the house. Y'all too young to hold meals.
Very good.
But it's so awkward that it's only one side. Only one side's good, the other side just refuses. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. So item 8, we have announcements by mayor, council, and staff. Are there any announcements this evening? Councilman Hussey?
I would just announce that the Charter Review Committee has a meeting tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. across the hall, and another meeting next Tuesday at 6 p.m. I think the committee is on track to complete their work by the timeline we spelled out, which was July 9th, but we shall see. So they're making good progress. There's a lot of, I think, changes and recommendations that are going to come towards us. But if you have interest, those are the meetings tomorrow night, 7 p.m., and the next Tuesday at 6 p.m.
Wonderful. Any other upcoming meetings or announcements? Councilman Prather?
Just wanted to say that the Finance Committee has been canceled for this month, and the packets will be mailed out, the reports.
Okay. Any other announcements? Okay. And a couple things that I'll announce. Chief Schofield touched on the groundbreaking for the new fire station. Very exciting day. Very hot, but at the same time, it makes you think of that's really nothing compared to what firefighters deal with on a regular basis. And what a wonderful location in our community. For the public that's not familiar, would you want to touch on kind of where that is?
Be happy to, Madam Mayor. The groundbreaking is at the intersection of Robinson Road and East McCarty. And so it's 2935 East McCarty, just right across from Scholastic. So we think that's a great location. We are excited to get started. The contract calls for significant completion of the structure in 300 days. So we can look to see the conclusion to that process, we hope, as soon as April of next year. So we're a little optimistic that maybe it might even be before that, but that's the way the contract is outlined at this time.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chief. And for those that haven't, I would encourage people to drive by there and see what a perfect location it is for that. Thank you. A couple other announcements and things that have gone on recently is we had a monument dedication for Lorraine Atkins at Jefferson City High School last week, and it's in conjunction with the Pete Atkins Memorial. They added Lorraine. Of course, Lorraine recently passed away, but she certainly was quite a fixture with Jefferson City football, but more importantly, and very much with our veterans. And she was she loved football and family, but she really was about patriotism and started the Wreaths for Heroes at the National Cemetery. That's been a really wonderful tradition in our community. So They are taking some donations for Wreaths for Heroes and on her behalf, and I want to continue that tradition. So that was a really wonderful celebration of Lorraine Adkins' life. And also, speaking of monuments, there was recently, and I have at everybody's place, the Lewis and Clark Monument near the state capitol. There was a 10-year anniversary dedication last week, and that was really great to think about what this is for our community. And Sabra Tallmeyer, who's the sculptor, was there. She's about 91, and she sculpted this 10 years ago when she was 81. And she had her family there. I think it was maybe 5 generations of Sabras in her family. It was very, very impressive. Councilman Hensley was there, and it was really impressive to see her. I was so amazed, and she was very inspiring. And plus, her talent is just incredible. And she talked about the story of how she came up with the concept and just the historical research that she did. So next time I go to the monument, even though I've seen it many times, I'll certainly pay a lot of attention to some of the details, and she talked about how she learned how those details came about. So there's information here that talks about the monument itself. Then there's also this lost letter that was written by Mayor John Landwehr. So it's kind of a spoof and sort of a fun letter, but I would encourage you to enjoy it. Actually, it says here that this letter was, quote, found and preserved for posterity by John Landwehr, 61st mayor of Jefferson City. So that's for your entertainment, and we'll make sure that we get a copy out there in case others want to read John Landwehr's story about the Lewis and Clark Monument. But he was mayor when that was dedicated, and it was nice to have him back for that. A couple other things. I do want to congratulate that we do have a new lieutenant governor. Senator Mike Kehoe now was sworn in today as lieutenant governor, and what an honor for our city and our community. Senator Kehoe has been such a wonderful supporter of Jefferson City and the entire state, and it's just so wonderful for him and his family, and especially exciting for Jefferson City to see him now being in that position of lieutenant governor. So definitely a wonderful friend to our community. There was also a Juneteenth celebration over the last week, and there were several council members that participated, and specifically on Saturday we had Councilman Hussey and Hensley with their little girls and families participating in that. And I know there were things at Lincoln University and throughout town. There was, I'm sure, other council members that also participated in that as well. And then, of course, the last thing is our big July 4th celebration. So check out salutetoamerica.org for all the information on the upcoming celebration. So July 3rd and 4th is fast approaching. So the night of the 3rd, there will be the parade and 2 tribute bands performing at the state capitol. There will be the Zoso, the Led Zeppelin tribute band, and then the Pink Floyd tribute band on the Tuesday night, July 3rd, and then after the parade. And then on Wednesday, July 4th, there will be activities all throughout the day in the downtown area, and that night is Dr. Javegas will perform at the near the Capitol stage with the fireworks following. So a lot of exciting things going on for the 3rd and 4th. And then, as we touched on earlier, the Salute to America Inside the Walls concert featuring Big and Rich and our own Murphy's Ford will be that Saturday night, June 30th. They're still selling tickets for that. You can also get tickets to eat dinner inside one of the housing units. So how often do you get a chance to eat like an inmate and be treated like a prisoner? So that's going to be exciting. But I know that Carlos especially is brushing up on his Big and Rich and knows all the songs and is in preparation for Saturday's concert. So exciting, though. But to really have a name like Big and Rich here is going to be pretty cool, and really looking forward to having a big name entertainer here in our city. I don't know what you're laughing about, but I won't even ask. All right, any further announcements? Sure.
And Mr. Malman, correct me if I'm wrong, municipal court still on schedule for Wednesday?
Yeah, notice proceed was issued last week, and demolition starts on Wednesday. So I challenge the chief to see whose project gets done with the least amount of change orders and trouble. So he's got a tougher project than I do. I'll admit that. But yeah,
both of them under budget, though.
Both of them under budget. That's the plan. And so, yeah, it's exciting, and substantial completion date for that is set for October 31st.
That's an exciting development.
Yes.
And then I have one thing that we will do periodically at city council meetings. As you know, we have a partnership city in Menschberg, Germany, and every few years we go there and then they come here. And so as we're in preparation to think about greeting our visitors when they come here next year, that we can have a moment at some certain council meetings that we might share a word. We thought what we would do is reach out to their mayor, Christian Zuber, and we could sort of do a fun moment. And it just brings to mind that we have our partnership city. It gets us thinking about the excitement of welcoming them and having the trip. So speaking of welcome them, we are going to learn a word tonight, and you probably already know it, but we're going to learn the word for welcome. And I should put you on the spot. You probably know the word, don't you? No. Lieutenant Williams has been to our partnership city, and him and his wife, Stephanie, and his son have been there on more than one occasion and have kept our partnership going with Menschberg. So we actually have a visitor from Germany here. Vanessa is here this week. If you haven't had a chance to see her, she's here for a couple of weeks visiting. And so she helped us with our very first word, and it's Willkommen. Willkommen. Y'all know that already, so say it with me. 1, 2, 3. Willkommen.
Willkommen.
So that means welcome. How did we do, Dave? So, and it's spelled with a W. It's spelled Willkommen, but forget the W, it's a V. It's Willkommen. So, everybody jot that down and remember it, and we're going to learn some words and phrases, and so that when our friends come from Menschberg, we are going to be prepared to welcome them, and we will be prepared to go over there as well. So, little partner city moment. We'll have to think of a name for that.
We just let Lieutenant be our translator.
Okay, so moved.
Yeah,
I think
right.
you are. It's official. Wonderful, congrats. All right, item 9, Lincoln University. We know it's summer break. Is there anything going on at Lincoln, Councilman Graham? Okay, and we do have a new president, so and she is officially on board.
She's been here for 3 weeks, so she's
3
on board.
weeks.
It's an exciting time, so hopefully we can get her here maybe at the second council meeting in July to recognize her and welcome her to the city of Jefferson. So
We will look forward to that, making
Yes.
that happen.
Yes.
Councilman
along with
Hussey?
our track teams.
Oh, yes,
Again.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Congratulations to them again.
And I think Councilman Graham's being a little modest. Her first act was probably her best act, right? She named Carlos as her official chief of staff, which is fantastic. And so,
Well, congratulations, Carlos. Wow.
So he's too modest to share that, but that's a big deal.
That is a really big deal. Well, we are very honored to have you serving in that capacity and look forward to continuing to strengthen our partnership with Lincoln and look forward to working with you on that. Well, thank you. Congrats. Any other announcements? Okay, or Lincoln. So item 10, we have presentations from the gallery, but we have no one signed up this evening. Item 11, consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 12, bills introduced 2018-19.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a professional services agreement with Midwest ATC Service Incorporated for the purpose of providing air traffic control services at the Jefferson City Memorial Airport for the period of October 1, 2017 through September 30th, 2018.
Mr. Maymert?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This bill authorizes an agreement with Midwest ATC Services, Inc. for air traffic control services at Jefferson City Memorial Airport. The agreement will facilitate the participation of the FAA's Contract Tower program and cost share program that they have that has the distinction of a very unique cost share of 82-18. So 82% federal, 18% local. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Maymert?
It's good to see that Mr. Maymert spread his wings to other transportation areas of expertise.
Thank you for the welcoming.
Great use of the word. All right. Any further council deliberation? All right. 2018-20.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, amending the 2017-2018 budget of the City of... An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, amending the 2017-2018 budget of the City of Jefferson, Missouri by appropriating additional funds within the Park Fund.
Mr. Gates?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Staff is requesting a supplemental appropriations from the Parks Fund for the purpose of finalizing repayment in the following areas. Roughly $225,000 for additional needs at the link, about $64,000 in professional services, and $357,000 in capital improvement projects within the parks. All items listed were discussed and approved by the Parks and Recreation Commission at their meeting last Tuesday of June 12th. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Gates? Any council deliberation? All right. Item 13, bills pending 2018-17.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a supplemental agreement with the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission for surface transportation program funds.
Mr. Sanders.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is actually the third supplemental agreement to a grant awarded by MoDOT to the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization, which is administered by the city, which was executed back in January of 2016. The purpose of this agreement is basically to extend it beyond the end of our fiscal year to the end of May 31st so that we could complete a consulting agreement with for transportation services such as our travel demand modeling and development of a list of recommended transportation projects, which will go into our long-range plan. The fiscal impact is really minimal in such that only funds are moving from this fiscal year into next fiscal year. The MPO has already completed their budget and has submitted that as part of our budget process, and they have approved this, are recommending this bill unanimously, and I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Any council deliberation? Roll call, please.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Hensley.
Aye.
Hussey.
Aye.
Kimna.
Aye.
Bill passes. Item 14, nothing on the informal calendar. Item 15, resolutions. We already have taken up number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, so we will do item F, which is resolution 2018-6.
And a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute tolling agreements and granting further authority.
Mr. Mullman.
Thank you. This resolution accomplishes two things. The first thing that it does, it enters into a tolling agreement with Southwestern Bell and New Singular Wireless. Those are both companies that do business as AT&T. What the tolling agreement does is it stops the statute of limitations on collection of gross receipts taxes. And what's contemplated here is that the city and these two and AT&T would agree that the statute of limitations would stop while the city takes a look into new services provided by cellular companies and determines whether or not those are being taxed in a appropriate category and at appropriate rate. What it also does, it gives the mayor authority to execute similar agreements with other telephone companies as the need may arise to look into those gross receipts taxes. This is part of kind of a statewide effort by several municipalities that are have some questions regarding new services that that companies provide and whether or not those services are appropriately being taxed under the city's gross receipts licensing tax. So this doesn't commit the city to take any particular action right now, but rather preserves the ability to collect taxes essentially right now at 3 years, I believe, is the current statute of limitations, and then freezes that so as time goes on, we're not losing the ability to collect back taxes that would otherwise fall outside the statute of limitations. So essentially we're in a kind of fact-finding portion of this project to determine if taxes are being appropriately levied on cellular service.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Mullman? All right. Is there a motion to take up Resolution 2018-6?
Second.
Any further discussion on the resolution? All right. Seeing none, roll call, please.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber.
Aye.
Ward. Wiseman.
Aye.
Fitzwater.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Hensley.
Aye.
Hussey.
Aye.
Kimna.
Aye.
Mahalovich.
Resolution passes. Item 16, there's no one signed up for presentations from the gallery on other topics. Item 17, are there any council and staff discussion of any presentation topics this evening? Item 18, any new business? 19, any unfinished business? 20, motion to adjourn?
Second.
So before we adjourn, let's just practice one more time. So we woke up by the river.
Down by the riverside.
Oh, Carlos. In Jeff City, Mo. All right. I think that was I. We're adjourned.